here in the NA Miata that is pretty much stock, just intake, exhaust, coilovers, and welded diff. It's a 1.8. So as you can see, we got the 1.8 gearing. We got WDT tires. Now, at this lower pressure, the car, you have to be aggressive to drift this thing, but it handles pretty good. But it wants to stop drifting. I normally raise the tire pressure, makes it a little easier to keep the drift going, but it's a little sketchier because it runs out of steering lock, because you'll see it has stock steering still. It's lowered and typically end up around 2 degrees of negative camber when you lower a car like this. It's got a welded diff, but you can run the torsen, which would be a 40% power coast and 1 preload, or a vlsd, which would be 5 to 15% on power and coast and 5 preload, but defaults to a welded. Coilovers and stock sway bars. Had to fix all this because this car was very broken. Also fixed the graphical offset stuff because the wheels were like clipping through the body in weird places. There's a lot of stuff wrong with this car I had to fix, but we got there. I'll show you the steering lock. So if I turn it to lock, you can see we go 1188 lock to lock on the in-game steering wheel, just like the real car would. And that gets us about 33 degrees of lock at the front wheels, just like the real car. This has the manual power steering rack. If you have the setting unclicked for adapting the ratio, then you'll still get the full steering no matter what the steering amount on your steering wheel is. And here we go. So at this lower PSI in the rear, it's all about momentum and inertia because the car wants to stop drifting. And as you can see, we run out of steering lock pretty easily. So you can't really sling the thing around like crazy to high angles because you'll just spin it. So you got to do a lot of control inputs on the steering and being not quite full throttle but high on throttle a lot just to keep that momentum up. A lot of turning in on the steering wheel. Sometimes a clutch kick. Ah. Not enough power to get away with using the e-brake to make up for stuff. As you can see, she has about 118 at the wheels, 116 at the wheels or something like that. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And she runs out of lock. But as you can see, she'll do it. Typical Miata, she suffers from a little lift-off oversteer, just like that, where it's easier to spin out when you get off the gas than it is when you're on the gas. I've drifted an NB Miata, which is basically just an NA without pop-ups, and literally, that's just the way they are. Something about the short wheelbase. Yikes. Ooh, little dirt drop, that's alright. So you gotta keep that momentum and inertia or she just comes out of the drift. Oh, we almost made it. Alright, I'm going to go raise the tire pressures up, which I recommend doing if you want to really be able to link the track with this thing. Just pump them all the way up to 50 in the rear. And now she's a lot more sketchy like this. As you can see, goes to lock a lot quicker. But if you can drift at a lower angle, it's a lot easier to link the track this way. Because it feels like the car has a lot more power when you raise the tire pressures up. See, we can actually make up for stuff now. Yeah. Ah, that lack of steering lock. Oh. Oh, this car's fun. Anyways, I'm hoping we can get permissions to share the car publicly. But either way, I enjoy it. I mean, it's a fun car.